Hi, my name is Amanda, and welcome to my channel. We're going to be talking about my NPR books in this video. If you are new here and don't know what my NPR challenge is, I will link the video up above that explains what I have created for myself. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 of the books, usually 3, but sometimes I can only get to 2 of them in our time frame. I don't want to take a lot of time to do this, but I really enjoy being able to discuss these books more in depth. So, the first book that I am reading is Norco 80. And I always want to say Narco, but it's a city in California. And I don't know where in California it is. My geography of California is not great, but it is called Norco, California. And there was a bank robbery, heist, something-ish that happened there in the early 80s, maybe 1980. Clearly, I've read none of this book. But that is the first book that I'm reading. And that's not technically true. I have read the first 2 chapters. But as of right now, they've just given us the backstory on I was about to say characters, but this is like a nonfiction book. So he's given us the backstory of the people who were involved in the heist right now. And so that's where I am. And I had no idea that it had to do with like religious fanaticism, but it does. And so I'm going to just keep reading, and I will check back in with you when I'm done with Norco 80, and we'll see what else we can talk about in this video. Yeah, that's mine. You can't have it. Skeeter knows that I have food and she wants to get some. But before I eat, I wanted to talk about the book that I just finished. Norco 80. It was so good. I know I checked in at the very beginning and I hadn't read much, and Skeeter got in my lap, so Django needed to come see if he missed anything. You did not miss anything. See? Everything looks normal. This book was, I'm going to use the word riveting. Maybe I should keep a list of like words that I want to use to describe books. This book was so good. I read a decent amount of nonfiction, but I don't read a lot. And so when I do, I like to listen to it on audio. I think it just, I don't know, I like it better. I was hooked from the beginning. And when we got like 30% of the way through, we were at the bank robbery. And I was like, wow, this bank robbery is going to take 70% of a novel. But it was kind of divided into thirds. And the first third was telling the history of most of the people that were involved that day. And then the second third was the actual day. And the bank robbery was such a small part of that day. It had more to do with like the chase down the highway and into the mountains and kind of the standoff that happened over that not less than 24-hour period, but probably about 24 hours from start to finish. And then the last third was the trial. And I think the trial is even more fascinating than what happened the day of the shootout. The shootout was amazing in that not more people were killed. Like, I expected the body count to be much higher based on the amount of ammunition and the amount of just willy-nilly firing that was happening. But the trial was amazing. Like there's only 3 of them on trial by the time it's over, and each of them have their own counsel. I mean, at one point the lawyers are fighting with each other by throwing pencils at each other. Like, I just feel like people start losing their minds as we go through this thing. As we go through the trial, people start just descending into madness, I think. But anyway, then at the very end, we get like where everybody is right now and who's still alive and all that kind of stuff. And it was just fascinating. Like, I find myself just sitting and thinking about it and going like, I'm blown away by the whole thing. And so that is just a great book. If you like true crime stuff, this one is great. It's been solved. There's not an unsolved mystery part of this. But I think another thing that it points out and speaks to is the fact that witnesses just cannot know for sure the things that they see when you are in a traumatic event. Like, You just can't. You cannot rely on what you remember. There was a lot of times where people would say like, I see that face in my dreams. Well, the defense was like, are you sure that it's not because you've seen that face in the newspaper through the year and now you dream about it? That's the face you put over the top of it? And like, you have to say yes, but you're not sure. Like, you can't be completely sure. And I think that's very cool. I love the way the research was done and the way the guy did it. And now I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing some Googling because I need to know who these people are and all kinds of stuff about them. Okay, I couldn't do it. I DNF'd Tender is the Flesh. I made myself get to like 30% of the way through, and I could not do it. First of all, 30% of the way in, if there's still not a point to the plot, then I'm not sticking around. Unless you've got some really good characters that I can really connect with. And that was not the case in this one. So we start out with our main character, we find out that he's working. There's probably going to be spoilers for the first 30% of the book right here. We find out that he inherited a meat processing plant from his father, that his father used to own it and run it, and now he's running it. And when his father owned it, they processed and packaged cattle, and now that he owns it, they are packaging and processing humans, but the humans are specifically bred for consumption. So that probably would have been okay if you had given me, like I said, a plot outside of that. And like, even if you want to talk about, because I think that the overall plan was going to end up being a discussion of like how he can't handle that and how he thinks people are people no matter if they're bred like cattle or not. And so I think that probably is what was going to be the overall storyline. But if we're this far in and you're still walking me step by step by step through the processing of the humans, even in such detail as to say he cut off the hand and put it in the container marked hand. Okay, like we don't need to go through every single detail like that. I guess he was just trying to show the complete disconnect that people were starting to have between who is a person and who is not a person, like what that means. But I don't know. I was just done. Like, it just seemed like it was being overly graphic just to be graphic and not actually telling a story. I wouldn't mind exploring the world a little bit more that has been created, where there are now no animals, which some of that is just a little bit weird, that a disease literally wipes out every animal but not humans, because humans are animals. Like, so I don't know, there are parts of it that I think is weird. But even if I take all of that away and I am believing everything that they're saying about what this world is like, there was no story. Like, let's explore that and what that means for regular people and what that means like in the grand scheme of things. But I just feel like artificial meat product would be the first step and not straight to like, let's eat humans. Like, I don't know. But anyway, I DNF'd it. And so I'm not really here to tell you how it went or how I rated it. I guess I am here to tell you how it went. I didn't finish it, but I am almost finished with Super Graphic. And so I'll be back shortly. I might even still be wearing the same clothes because it might be later today to talk about that one. But I just wanted to tell you about Tender is the Flesh. I couldn't do it. Super Graphic by Tim Leong. And I actually have a physical copy of this from my library because I started reading this on my Kindle. And I was like, I'm not getting all of the charts and the graphs because some of them are double pages, like this one. and it's really hard to see when you're looking at a device. And so I was like, I'm going to see if they have this at my library. Well, they did, and it's fantastic. This is all comic books. So it says, a visual guide to the comic book universe. So this is not just like superheroes. It's got like Ren 1010, and it's got The Walking Dead. Like anything that was a comic book is in here. A graphic novel. All the way up to 2013. This was published in 2013. So that's what this one is. Now, when I was looking this up online, I saw that my library had this super graphic, Star Wars, by the same guy, and my family loves Star Wars. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to get both of them. So I got both of them from the library. I put this one just on the coffee table in our living room. And as I wander by in the living room, I just pick it up and like randomly turn to a page. Like the whole thing is just graphs, and it's so interesting. And so, of course, not everything is in here completely up to date with comics because, like I said, it's been, well, at this point, it's been almost 9 years since this was published. And this one, I don't know. This was 2017, so this one's not quite as old. However, this copy from my library is like falling apart. So people really like this apparently. So I'm going to leave these here for a few more days for my family members to check out. But there's not really anything to say about this. It's a nonfiction book about every comic book, that's what he calls it, comic book universe, in the whole span of time till 2012. So here is, I will show you this, one of my favorites. I just think this is super interesting. I'm not sure if it was done on purpose or not, but I really like it. Okay, so it's superheroes and primary colors. So it's just not something that I thought about, that most superhero, like their costume colors, are primary colors. And that means that most supervillains have secondary colors. I just never thought about that before until I was looking through this chart. And I was like, oh my gosh. One of the other ones that I really love, this one is a Venn diagram of characters, and they fit into 3 categories. We have tragically dead parents, cape, and underwear on the outside. Hilarious. It cracked me up. So there's only 6 of them who have all 3, tragically dead parents, cape, and underwear on the outside. That is Magneto, Superman, Dr. Fate, Robin, Batman, and Martian Manhunter. And also, there probably are more. This is not every person in a comic book ever. So you'll notice as you're going through that that's not what this is about. Oh, it also has some stuff in here about manga and how to read it and where it all came from. There's lots of stuff. This one right here is just picking some characters and telling you how tall they are. So it's just a graph of heights. And so it's great. It goes up to 7 feet and even above 7 feet for Galactus, since he's off the chart, but all the way down to like the shortest person, who is Kandorian. I don't even know what that is, but it's less than 1 foot tall. So looks like it's only a couple of inches tall. Anyway, it was just so interesting. I would just sit and flip through these pages, and there are some things that I don't care anything about, and then there are some things that I thought was great. The many affiliations of the Marvel Universe, look at that. If you want to spend some time following some lines, that is great. This book is so much fun. So definitely, unless you're like a super comic book person, I might just pick this up from the library. But if you are a comic book person, this is a great thing to have on your shelf to just randomly look at occasionally. And I'm sure it's a great topic of conversation when people are over. So that is all of my NPR books for this month, and it's great. I just barely got it in before the month was over, and I'm so happy about it. I'm excited about the next ones too. So let's see. Is there a superhero or a cape, or maybe just one of these masks, like a superhero mask? It could be a villain as well. If you have any of those emojis, put that down in the comments if you've made it to the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of the ones that I talked about or if you're planning to read any of them. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.